Happy Friday, Ranchview, and welcome to day 9 of Elenum Music Online. End of week 2, you've made it to the end of another one, so congratulations. Things I hope are feeling a little bit more normal now. Maybe things are getting a little bit more comfortable doing this whole online school. I know for me, I've finally settled into a routine. I think things are kind of getting under control. And while we still have some hiccups and some snags in what we're doing, we're working through it together. So thank you so much for being here and for asking me questions and for helping me figure things out and for just hanging in there as we have gotten used to this whole new world. Today's shout outs. First shout out goes to Cade for working ahead and getting really into this whole note flight thing. You've actually gone above and beyond what we were supposed to so far and have already written a duet for bassoon and trumpet, and it's really cool. And I now have Nirvana stuck in my head and probably will all weekend, but it's a good thing. Shout out also goes to Ashlyn today. Thank you for joining us for office hours. It was the first time I've seen you on there, and it was great just to chat and get to see you. By now you all have heard about Governor Polis extending the stay-at-home order through April 30th, which means that we will not be back in school until May at the earliest. Several of you have been asking me if we will be going back at all this year, and while I don't have the answer to that question, I just wanted to let you know if we end up doing virtual class for the remainder of the school year, we are still going to have a Pops concert. The way that will look would be a little bit different. We would do a virtual performance, and I have to still work out on my end how we're going to put that together. But I want to show you a little bit of kind of what I'm thinking we would do if we're unable to come back and do a live performance. So recently, the Colorado Symphony put on a performance of Ode to Joy, and they did a virtual performance on YouTube, and that's what I want to show you a little bit of now, just so you kind of have an idea of what we might be considering for our Pops concert. Now that you saw how Colorado Symphony did it, that kind of gives you an idea of what I'm looking at. So that means a couple of good things. That means if you are, let's say, a trumpet or a clarinet player and so much of this music goes way up in the stratosphere at the top of your range and you're just not comfortable with it, play a different part, play a lower part. So I'm still giving out part assignments, but those are now more of a guideline than a requirement because we can do balance a little bit easier on the computer. Even if the majority of trumpets decide to do trumpet 2 and 3 and only one person does trumpet 1 up in that high range, we can still make it work. So choose a part that you are comfortable playing and that you are having a good time playing. The other thing you can do is, let's say you're an alto player and you love playing happy and you wish you could just do both parts. Do both parts. Play alto 1 and play alto 2. Then when you send in recordings, you can send in both and you can have double person playing both parts. That's totally fine. Those of you involved in both percussion and another ensemble, that's also an option for you. So let's say you play both percussion and string bass. You could play both parts, send me both recordings, and there again, you get that double person playing both instruments. Totally, totally fine. There will be some things that we need to work out, but don't worry about that yet. That's something that I need to figure out more. I need to spend some time researching and figuring out how I'm going to do that. But in the meantime, just know that I'm thinking about it. I'm working on figuring out how that's all going to work, and I'm still crossing my fingers that I'll see you guys in May and that we'll be able to do a live performance like we had planned. But we'll make it work if we're not able to. It is Friday, so no theory today. But while I'm talking theory, I just want to give you a reminder. When we first started this theory project, I said, here's noteflight.com, enter into this, here's how you do it. But remember, you can always do it by hand. I just want to reiterate that. There's a few people who've been really frustrated with Noteflight, and I don't want this project to be something that you hate doing because you don't like doing it on the computer. You can always do this project by hand. You do the same thing. You find the music that you like, and then instead of putting it into a computer program, you just write it out. Totally, totally fine. Remember, if you want to do that, blanksheetmusic.net will give you any kind of staff that you need. You can set it up, or you can just print it out blank and then write it in yourself. Whatever works better. I want this to be something that you are using to learn how to create music, how to compose, how to arrange, but not something that is causing you tons and tons of stress. That's not the goal. So if by hand is better, please do it by hand, and then you just take a picture and send it to me. That's totally, totally fine. All right. So for today's practicing and reflection, a little bit different than last week. Still, because there's no theory, I want you to be practicing 25 to 40 minutes. But instead of just writing your reflection in your journal and sending it to me, I actually want you to record yourself playing anywhere from 16 to 24 measures of your hardest song. Choose whichever song is the most difficult for you. Where are you struggling? Which one are you having a harder time with rhythms or with notes or with entrances, whatever it might be? Choose 16 to 24 measures and record yourself playing that. You can record this as many times as you want. This is not a sight reading assignment. So record those 16 to 24 measures and then listen to yourself performing that. As you listen, I want you to write your reflection. So you have a couple of things to think about. First, what went well? What did you hear yourself do that was maybe better than you thought it was when you just performed it? So what sounded good? Second, what did you hear that needs the most work? Be very specific here. Is it your rhythm in measure 18? Is it I always miss the A flat? Is it I'm not confident on where my entrances are? Be very specific on what needs the most work. Don't just say everything. What one thing needs the most work that you heard when listening to your video? And then finally, if you were giving yourself a content knowledge grade for that performance, what would you give yourself? Remember, think about the rubric. Where do you fall in the progression of this grade? This is not a final project. So not was it good or bad, but are you in the 1 to 2 range? Does it sound like it's still pretty much brand new? Are you in the 3 to 4 range? Does it sound okay, but a little bit weak, needs quite a bit of work? Are you in the 5 to 6 range? You're right on track. You're where you should be after a couple of weeks. And is it in the 7 to 8 range? Are you above and beyond? Are you close to performance ready already? If that's the case, then we're looking at, do we need new music? Do we need to get into harder parts? Or do you want to maybe learn a second part to the same song? So just to go over it one more time briefly, record yourself playing 16 to 24 measures of your hardest song. Listen to yourself playing and then self-evaluate by answering what went well, what needs the most work specifically, and what content knowledge grade would you give yourself based on that performance. Send both the video and your reflection to me on Google Classroom, and that's your assignment for the weekend. Other than that, have a good weekend. Rest, relax, spend some time outside. If the weather gets a little bit better, it's been cold here at my house. It's actually snowing right now. So hopefully the weather breaks and we can spend some time outside this weekend. Hang out with your family. Let me know if you have questions. Have a good time, and I will see you on Monday.